Imagine you're at the pinnacle of influence. Every space hushes when you step in. Your foes grin nervously. Your friends murmur your name with reverence. You've triumphed, or so it appears. But then, a fracture not in your domain, but in your pride. You display your riches. You boast about your intellect. You ensure everyone knows you're the mightiest. And that's precisely when you lose it all. In this video, we'll uncover a harsh reality most people never grasp until it's too late. We'll use Machiavelli's lessons, rare Stoic cautions, ancient Chinese insights, and real historical treacheries to prove one thing: bragging makes you a mark. If you want to be genuinely powerful, not just seem powerful, this is the lesson that will save you. Before we start, hit that subscribe button. If you're into sharp strategy, timeless truths, and the uncomfortable wisdom that actually gets you ahead, you're exactly where you need to be. Niccolò Machiavelli, often misunderstood as a proponent of brute force and authoritarian rule, actually advocated something far more calculated: concealment. In The Prince, he makes it clear that a wise ruler must appear ordinary, even modest. Why? Because the human mind reacts instinctively to superiority. Show too much intelligence, strength, or success, and people won't admire you. They'll fear you, envy you, hate you. And hate unites enemies. Machiavelli understood that power is never secure. The more brightly you shine, the faster you draw eyes and knives. If people see you as a threat, they won't wait for you to attack. They'll come for you first. The most dangerous leaders aren't the ones who announce themselves. They're the ones who hide in plain sight, who blend in, who whisper while others shout. Because the moment the spotlight finds you, so does the crossfire. In Machiavelli's time, the courts of Italy were rife with intrigue and betrayal. The rulers who lasted were those who mastered the art of subtle influence, who could navigate the treacherous waters of politics without drawing undue attention. They understood that true power lies not in the spectacle, but in the shadows, where decisions are made and alliances are forged. These leaders were patient, calculating, and always aware of the shifting tides of fortune. Cesare Borgia was Machiavelli's prototype for the perfect prince: ruthless, brilliant, and cold-blooded. He knew how to charm crowds, assassinate rivals, and play politics like a chess master. He moved with precision, masked his true intentions, and struck before anyone could react. For a while, he seemed unstoppable, a rising warlord blessed by birth, intellect, and brutality. But then came the fatal shift. He began to believe his own legend. He traded caution for display, flaunted power, trusted too much in his father's papal throne, and allowed himself to be seen as a dominant force rather than a strategic shadow. That was the opening his enemies needed. When Pope Alexander VI died, Cesare had no anchor. Within months, he was betrayed, imprisoned, and erased from power. His name became a cautionary tale. The message is stark. No matter how capable you are, if you shine too brightly, someone will find a way to snuff you out. Caesar's downfall was not just a result of his arrogance, but also of his failure to adapt to changing circumstances. He had built his power on the foundation of his father's influence, and when that foundation crumbled, he had nothing to fall back on. His enemies, who had been biding their time, saw their opportunity and struck with ruthless efficiency. Seneca, advisor to emperors and a pillar of Stoic thought, warned against drawing too much attention to yourself. In a world full of ego and spectacle, he preached the opposite: restraint, stillness, invisibility. To Seneca, true strength was internal, controlled, disciplined, and immune to the need for validation. Avoid being too noticeable, he wrote, for nothing invites envy. Like greatness on display, envy, in his view, wasn't just a personal flaw in others. It was a force that destroyed entire empires. The Stoic ideal was the warrior who keeps his sword sheathed, The philosopher who speaks only when necessary, the leader who doesn't need to be seen to be feared. Power that announces itself is already bleeding. The applause you chase today becomes the silence of betrayal tomorrow. For Seneca, the highest form of mastery was to need nothing from the crowd, not praise, not permission, not recognition, just action held in calm hands. Seneca's teachings were not just philosophical musings but practical advice for navigating the treacherous waters of imperial politics. He understood that the court of Emperor Nero was a dangerous place, where one misstep could lead to ruin. His emphasis on restraint and self-control was a survival strategy, a way to avoid the pitfalls of envy and intrigue. Taoism, especially in the writings of Laozi, offers a parallel truth in poetic form. True power flows like water. It moves unseen, fills every space, adapts to every container, and yet erodes mountains over time. Those who show themselves do not shine, he warns in the Tao Te Ching. In other words, those who seek the spotlight lose their glow. Laozi didn't believe in forceful domination or theatrical control. He believed in alignment, in becoming part of the rhythm of nature rather than trying to stand above it. The warrior who postures invites challenge. The leader who brags provokes rebellion. The wise move silently, act without credit, and let results speak louder than appearance. In Taoism, the one who bends survives. The rigid tree snaps in the wind. The water that yields conquers the stone. The Taoist lesson is simple, but powerful. Stop trying to be impressive. Start becoming uncatchable. Laozi's teachings emphasize the importance of humility and adaptability. He believed that true power lies in the ability to flow with the currents of life, to adapt to changing circumstances, and to remain unseen until the moment of action. This philosophy is not about weakness, but about the strength that comes from flexibility and resilience. Power isn't a substance. It's a story. It doesn't exist on its own. It exists in the perception of others. You're powerful because people believe you are, and that belief is fragile. The moment people understand you, categorize you, or see the full shape of your capabilities, they start to resist, analyze, plot, compare, and worst of all, target. The mystique you carry is a form of armor. The vaguer you are, the more they guess, and guessing breeds caution. But the minute you reveal too much, your strategies, your resources, your weaknesses, you give people the ammunition they need to take you down. Power, then, is less about what you have and more about what you hide. It's a game of appearances, a dance of shadows. Invisibility is not passivity, it's control by omission. The more they see, the less you hold. The art of maintaining power lies in the ability to control perception. Those who understand this principle can manipulate the narrative to their advantage, creating an aura of mystery and invincibility. This is not about deception, but about strategic communication, about revealing just enough to keep others guessing, but never enough to give them a clear target. Alcibiades was the embodiment of brilliance, gone unchecked, a dazzling Athenian general. He was a master of rhetoric, strategy, and seduction. Men admired him, women wanted him, rivals feared him, and then they destroyed him. Why? Because Alcibiades couldn't help himself. He flaunted his genius, ridiculed less intelligent peers, seduced the wives of powerful men, not out of love but out of ego. He thought he was untouchable. But charisma without caution is a ticking bomb. He was exiled from Athens, defected to Sparta, then Persia, switching loyalties like a gambler chasing his luck. Eventually, his erratic moves caught up with him. Alone and hunted, he was assassinated in a foreign land, not because he wasn't skilled, not because he wasn't great, but because he didn't know when to stop performing. His need to be adored was louder than his sense of strategy, and that, in the end, was his death sentence. Alcibiades' story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the perils of seeking validation from others. His brilliance was undeniable, but his inability to control his ego led to his downfall. He was a man of immense talent, but his need for admiration and recognition blinded him to the dangers that surrounded him. Sun Tzu's The Art of War is filled with tactics that boil down to one theme: never let them see you coming. His line, "Appear weak when you are strong," is not about deception for its own sake. It's about tactical timing. If your enemy believes you're weak, they lower their guard. If they believe you're invincible, they unite to destroy you. Both perceptions can be manipulated, but the goal is always the same: control of attention, control of expectation. The best generals aren't those who crush with force. They're the ones who win before the battle begins. That only happens when you keep your blade hidden, your hand unreadable, your mind a mystery. Power is about leverage, not noise, and the quietest move is often the deadliest. Sun Tzu's teachings emphasize the importance of strategy and deception in warfare. He believed that the ultimate goal of warfare is not to destroy the enemy, but to achieve victory with minimal conflict. This requires a deep understanding of the enemy's strengths and weaknesses, as well as the ability to manipulate their perceptions and expectations. Even sacred texts reflect this brutal truth. In the Bible, King David sends Uriah, one of his most loyal and noble soldiers, to die in battle. Why? Because Uriah's virtue made David feel exposed. Uriah wasn't a threat politically. He wasn't planning rebellion. But he was too good, too loyal, too honest, and worst of all, a reminder of David's own guilt. That kind of virtue can be dangerous in a corrupt system. It forces others to look inward. It shames them. And when people are ashamed, they don't change, they eliminate the source. Uriah's downfall wasn't due to failure but to visibility. He became a mirror in a room full of liars, and that sealed his fate. In a world where appearance trumps substance, even righteousness, if it stands too tall, becomes a liability. The story of Uriah is a powerful reminder of the dangers of standing out in a corrupt system. His loyalty and integrity were his greatest strengths, but they also made him a target. In a world where appearances matter more than substance, even the most virtuous can become victims of their own integrity. Why do we show off? Because we want to be seen, admired, validated. It feels good, but it's a trap. The moment you seek praise, you surrender control. Your motivation becomes external. You start playing to the crowd. And while you're smiling for applause, someone in the audience is planning your fall. Ego is the enemy of longevity. It makes you chase recognition instead of results. It blinds you to threats because you assume your spotlight is also a shield. But fame is fragile, and the higher you rise without restraint, the more people want to pull you down, not out of principle, but out of spite. The seduction of showing off is powerful, but the aftermath is brutal. Power lasts when it's managed, not flaunted. The desire for recognition and validation is a fundamental human need, but it can also be a dangerous trap. When we seek the approval of others, we give them power over us. We become dependent on their opinions and vulnerable to their criticisms. True power comes from within, from a deep sense of self-worth and confidence that does not depend on external validation. Modern elite operatives, spies, special forces, master negotiators don't wear capes. They don't scream power. They use the gray man tactic. They blend in, lower their profile, operate unnoticed. Because when you don't stand out, you can't be easily targeted. You move without resistance, gather information, gain advantage, strike when it counts all without ever being the focus. The gray man isn't passive. He's just patient, controlled, deadly when required, invisible the rest of the time. That's real power, not fireworks, but precision. Not applause, but results. The gray man tactic is a powerful strategy for maintaining a low profile and avoiding detection. It requires discipline, patience, and a deep understanding of the environment in which one operates. By blending in and avoiding unnecessary attention, operatives can gather information, build alliances, and strike with precision when the moment is right. In a world addicted to spectacle, the ability to disappear is a weapon. Napoleon Bonaparte was a master of momentum, a man who bent Europe to his will with sheer intelligence, timing, and fearlessness. In his early campaigns, he was surgical. He struck fast, moved light, and avoided the spotlight. He let his victories speak for him, but once power took hold, something changed. Subtlety gave way to spectacle. He didn't just become emperor. He crowned himself, rejecting even the symbolic humility of being blessed by the church. That moment told the world everything. Napoleon was no longer just a general. He was an icon, and icons invite destruction. He couldn't resist the pull of legacy. He chased eternal glory through endless wars, each one bloodier than the last. Spain bled him, Russia broke him, Waterloo buried him. His mind remained sharp, but his pride clouded judgment. The strategist became the showman, and history doesn't forgive the spotlight. Napoleon's rise and fall is a classic example of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the perils of seeking glory. His early successes were built on a foundation of strategic brilliance and tactical innovation, but his later failures were the result of his inability to control his ego and his desire for recognition. He was a man of immense talent, but his need for validation and his pursuit of glory ultimately led to his downfall. Nature doesn't play favorites, it plays odds. And in the natural world, the odds favor the invisible. Darwin didn't just teach survival of the fittest, he taught survival of the smartest. A peacock's tail might attract a mate, but it also makes escape harder. A frog with bright skin might be poisonous or just dead before it could prove otherwise. Predators learn fast. Patterns evolve. The flashy fish, the loud bird, the colorful snake all risk being noticed before they're ready to defend. Evolution punishes visibility unless it's backed by defense, and even then, it's a gamble. The creatures that survive longest are the ones that blend, that adapt, that move quietly. In the jungle, camouflage isn't just a feature. It's a philosophy. Nature rewards the ghost, not the firework. The natural world is full of examples of the power of invisibility and the dangers of standing out. From the camouflage of predators to the subtle signals of prey, the ability to blend in and avoid detection is a key survival strategy. Those who understand this principle can navigate the complexities of the natural world with greater ease and success. We've built a digital coliseum, and the masses are bloodthirsty. Social media isn't connection, it's performance. And the most visible performers, the influencers, the gurus, the flaunters of luxury and lifestyle, are under constant fire. One misstep, one screenshot, one old tweet, and the same crowd that cheered turns into a mob. Fame is fickle. The algorithm rewards exposure, but exposure is a double-edged blade. It demands more. It pushes you to exaggerate, to escalate, to fabricate until one day, the bubble pops. Fraud gets exposed, reputations implode. Cancelled. Clowned, forgotten. The cycle is ancient. Rise, glorify, destroy. But the tempo has accelerated. In the age of virality, the crash comes fast. The lesson is the same. The higher the profile, the bigger the target. And no one survives forever in the feed. The digital age has created a new arena for the battle of perception and power. Social media platforms reward visibility and spectacle, but they also expose individuals to the dangers of public scrutiny and criticism. Those who understand the risks and rewards of this new landscape can navigate it with greater success and resilience. In the underworld, silence isn't just survival, it's sacred. The old mafia didn't need Instagram or headlines. Their power came from what wasn't said, what wasn't seen. The rule was clear: never outshine the boss. The guys who rose too fast, talked too loud, were diamonds to dinner, they vanished. Not because they failed, but because they made others feel insecure. In that world, ego is weakness. Visibility is death. The smart ones kept it low. Cheap suits, quiet mouths, clean hands, even if those hands were soaked in blood behind closed doors. The loudest man in the room is usually the easiest to bury. Real power in that world was generational, quiet, disciplined. Kind of power that moves money, people, outcomes without ever being named. The underworld operates on a different set of rules, where power is measured not by visibility, but by influence and control. Those who understand this principle can navigate the treacherous waters of this world with greater success and resilience. The ability to remain unseen and unheard is a key survival strategy in a world where the stakes are high and the risks are ever present.